Okay, what we have here is the XDM 40 caliber slide Dawson adjustable sights. We have a solid guide rod in here. To take this out, we're going to flip it upside down. Keep your thumb on the back, otherwise it'll go shooting. You might hurt yourself. You can pull the spring out. If you want to take the spring off, just they're a little tight in the back. There's a little step on there, so you can just pull it off. That's as far as you can take it down, 2 pieces. On the slide, we have a Barstow match grade barrel, good barrel. To remove this, we're going to look in here. You're going to have the extractor, the striker safety, the striker spring, the back plate. This is a little guide here. So to remove the internals of this, we're going to push down on this guide, and I'm just going to tilt this back until it catches just a little bit. You can see right there that it's caught there. I'm going to put my finger over it and remove it fairly fast. The reason you want to remove it fast is it can catch this little lip and break that. We do have an aluminum piece for people that have not removed it properly and broken it. So we have the back plate, the guide for the cocked indicator. We have the striker spring, and we have these in reduced power and extra power. Then you have the cock chamber indicator, just this little silver piece here. And then you have the striker. Well, you'll notice the striker can't come out. So that's where this number 3 roll pin punch comes into play. It fits right nicely in the bottom of this hole. We'll take our hammer, pop it out. You'll notice that one side's going to be more crimped than the other. This comes in handy when putting it back. You'll want to put this side down. The hole on the bottom of the slide is smaller than the hole on the top of the slide, so that really comes in handy. If you happen to break this pin, which you will if you dry fire it a lot and don't use a snap cap, it will break it, because what it does is, we're going to remove the striker here. It will actually hit there every time you do it, and this spring generates a lot of force and it'll actually crack that. So if you ever need to replace it, you'll get one. You may notice that when you get a replacement, it'll be big on both sides. You'll probably need to put it in a vise or something and crimp it down again so that you can get in the smaller diameter hole on the bottom. So we have the roll pin retainer pin and striker retainer pin, and then we have the striker in here too. I just take the slide, hit my hand. This is the buffer spring. What this does, when the striker goes forward, it returns it. So we have that. So that's a striker system. If you want to get further into the system, this is where a little screwdriver comes in handy. There's a little lip on this pin right here. You see that, Kyle?
Yeah, a little bit.
And so we want to use that, pry it out. Hold your thumb over this because there's a spring underneath of it. We can pull this block out, and you'll notice there's a block, there's a spring. In the bottom of the block, there's a indentation for the spring, and if you look inside here, I don't think the camera will see it. There's an indentation in there. One trick to putting them back together, I use the Brian Eno slide glide. You can just put a little bit of that on there when you're putting it together, and that'll actually hold it when we go to reassemble it. So we can just prep it for reassembly here. And then we have the extractor here. This is where our little tool comes in handy. You just put that in there, wiggle it around, and you can get the extractor out. Sometimes it takes a little bit because they're tight, but there you'll see the extractor, and that you've removed all the internals from there. Don't need to do that for the trigger job, but that's just something handy to know. Now we're going to go ahead and just put it back together. So we'll put the extractor back in, line it up, use our bigger punch to push it in place. We'll take the spring. Make sure when you're putting this back together that the block goes all the way in. If you get the spring crimped, the gun won't function properly. And when you put this pin in, make sure this little notch is at the top. Notches at the bottom, you won't have anything to pry it out with, and that's no fun. Buffer spring back in, striker back in. Now, important that you do it in the right sequence. When you're fitting the trigger job, we'll come back to this. When you're fitting the trigger job, you want to have the striker loose in here, no buffer spring, so that you can check tolerances. But for now, we're going to just reassemble it, put it back together, make sure that pin's still in there, flip it over, make sure we put the proper side of the striker retaining pin back in, tap it down a little ways, and then we use our roll pin punch to seat it the rest of the way. If you don't have a roll pin punch, go spend the $5. Worth it. If you don't have one, you're gonna be very likely to mess up your gun, your punch, and get it stuck in there real good. Put the indicator in, the striker spring in, the guide, and then the retaining plate. When you put the retaining plate, I'm going to just put it up here at an angle, and then I'm going to push this down with my thumb. I'm trying to do it so you can see it. I didn't just push it down far enough so that it's inside the channel, and then I just put the plate up here until it captures it, and then you can push it down the rest of the way and then pop it into place. There you go, disassembled, reassembled.